Previously on the Retronomicon. Why are you doing this to me? Purge my video game collection?
I gave you those powers. I could take them away.
No! Fucking book. There must be some kind of spell or curse or incantation inside this thing. Dude!
No, fuck.
What the fuck, dude?
Guess you'll have to reach up inside me.
Oh god, really?
It's not my ass, douche.
Feels different somehow. Shitty games. Fucking book. Shitty games. No more shitty games. Purge my video game collection. Curse or incantation. Oh, thank fuck for that. It was all just some shitty dream. Oh, not again! It's all a dream. Seems kind of lazy and contrived. Feels different somehow. No. Now every time I put this thing on, something weird happens. I guess maybe none of it really happened. Well, now I can get back to some good old-fashioned gaming.
Boo.
No, please no.
Yes, douchebag.
God, it's not over, is it?
We're only just getting started.
You know what? No, I'm not doing it. I'm going to play some Goldeneye 007, and you're going to leave me the fuck alone. The fuck?
You wanna play a gun game, do you, douche? Review it, douchebag, now!
Okay. Be cool, man. Everything's cool. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Retronomicon. Today's topic, we're going to be looking at my least favourite first-person shooter games of all time. Yeah, these games are terrible. Goldeneye. Goldeneye. 2 words or One word, I suppose, that takes 90s kids like me immediately back to when we first picked up that N64 controller with 3 other friends and had the time of your fucking life, blasting the living shit out of each other. You know what you don't really think of as much, though? The 1995 James Bond film starring Pierce Brosnan that the game was based on. I said in the last episode that movie adaptations are lame. But let me tell you, this game fucks that concept harder than Bond fucks his women. I'm assuming he does. Fuck them hard, I mean. It's never shown on screen, so you never really know.
Get on with it.
Okay. No other game adapted from a movie could come close to the colossal-sized balls of this game, a game based off a film with a somewhat average reception, yet was remarkably innovative, fun, challenging, and realistic. For the time. That's the game, not the film. The game. The game is legendary. It exists on high, atop a throne in the grandest hall of the gaming pantheon, far above in the gaming heavens, where it forever blesses every game that succeeds it. What? Yeah, alright, that might be a little bit over the top, but that's how much this game means to me, damn it. The game is developed by Rare, a British development company that was famous for creating some of the most memorable and best games of all time, including Battletoads and Donkey Kong Country. They gave us Diddy Kong, Banjo-Kazooie, and Conker, and they were widely known as a dominant developer for the N64. This was an outing to try and make the first-person shooter a home console affair, where both immersive objective-based single-player missions were featured, as well as intense 4-player firefights. The physics were also developed to move away from the more accepted arcade style of shooter to a more realistic design. Now, alright, these graphics, of course, objectively, as modern gamers, we can look at this now and say, yep, that looks like someone's face peeled off and stretched over an angular melon, but for the time, this in itself had not been done a whole lot before. It was innovative as fuck. The faces are in fact those of the game's programmers, including the lead developer and living legend David Doak, whom those familiar with this game, which, let's face it, is probably most of you nerds out there, will remember Dr. Doak as the informant scientist that you meet in the facility level as one of the objectives. A father of the modern shooter, he also makes hilarious posts on Twitter, and, well, I highly recommend checking out his feed for a good laugh. Anyway, the graphics for the time were fantastic.
Be more critical of it, douchebag. Now.
The game's not perfect, no. Actually, it has a really big issue with frame rates when there's a lot going on the screen. It's not very nice at all. It's actually kind of shit. I often hear this is the leading complaint people have when revisiting this game. That and having to use this 3-pronged alien anal probe that this console called a controller. Moving on quickly from the graphics, the gameplay is where Goldeneye really makes you go, holy fuck, this game's brilliant. The single player missions, particularly on the harder difficulties, with more objectives to complete, are hard as fuck, and would often require a lot of puzzle solving and experimentation. Yeah, alright, sometimes there are moments of trial and error, but to be honest, those moments are correctly placed on the game's difficulty curve, and the more astute players can deduce what's required by carefully reading the mission briefings, or checking everything available to you in the pause menu. There are a total of 18 main levels with 2 bonus levels to unlock that are inspired by other Bond films, The Man with the Golden Gun and Moonraker respectively. In theory there's even more levels than that because each of those levels has 3 difficulties. You are rewarded with cheats after completing certain levels on certain difficulties in certain times. These cheats were incredibly fun to use, and were one of the most memorable rewards from any video game growing up. Everything from invisibility to DK mode, which, you guessed it, makes everyone look like a fucking monkey. It's fucking brilliant. And even unlocking hidden weapons that can't be found anywhere else in the game, making unlocking some of these cheats legitimately and extremely exciting, as well as a satisfying experience. Speaking of weapons, there's loads of them, including several varieties of pistol, machine gun, but also rocket launchers, grenade launchers, several kinds of mines, throwing knives, lasers. There's even a fucking tank, which is the only vehicle in the game and only appears in 2 levels, most famously in the street stage, which is an adaptation of the tank scene from the film, so that makes sense. But the other one is on the runway. Does he escape in a tank in the film? I mean, I guess it makes sense why a tank would be there, but okay. There isn't much to the tank really, but that doesn't mean it isn't fun as fuck. You're harder to hit and you can run guards over with a satisfying tasty crunch. And you can shoot explosive shells at shit. Oh fuck yes. Burn, you Russian bastards. When you use the all weapons cheat, you can even use the tank shells as Bond. Is he firing them out of his face? I don't know, this cracked me up no end as a kid. Everywhere you look, there are good decisions being made with regards to the game's engine and the resulting gameplay. The limited heads-up display compared to its predecessors, such as the lack of on-screen reticle and health bars, which only appear momentarily when you actually aim or get hit respectively. The guards you shoot are beautifully and realistically animated. Then there's the revolutionary decision to make where you shoot enemies a factor in how much damage is dealt, something we take for granted today with modern shooters. This game seemed to popularise the headshot. It invented the arse shot, and depending on where these shots were placed, resulted in some fantastic and hilarious guard animations. God, it's just so fucking memorable, damn it. The sound design is also nothing short of phenomenal. The featured music by Rare's talented composers Grant Kirkhope and Graham Norgate is a sublime blend of original techno-industrial beats and that famous Bond theme we all know and love. The gunshot effects from the game's various weapons are all quite unique and satisfying, as well as the explosions, which are still incredibly pleasing to this day. Trapping guards, slapping them, and detonating remote mines in excess is still gratuitously fun. The game may lack voice acting from its characters, but considering they probably wouldn't have been able to get the original actors like Pierce Brosnan involved back then, this would have probably been for the best, and definitely didn't take away from the experience whatsoever. Level design was also solid, and although some of these environments looked like cardboard stained with dog piss and rat shit, these were perfectly adequate considering. I mean they're arse. Pure arse. Objectives in the levels would consist of either placing an object, such as a bomb or a bug, destroying a certain object, reaching a part of a level under certain conditions, such as not killing any civilians or escorting an NPC from point A to point B, that sort of thing. The latter was always particularly frustrating, especially when they would often get lost and killed by guards. Or by you, I suppose, especially if they dive out in front of you like a fucking suicidal maniac. Oh, you fucking idiot, you deserve that. The objectives are usually reflected by the nature of the levels, which can vary between stealthier designs such as the surface or bunker levels that benefit from using silencers and avoiding cameras, to all-out run, gun and fuck 'em, like the train level, which has you blast away tons of guards down one narrow corridor. That said, you can pretty much play the game however you like, even against the developer's intentions, as there aren't many objectives that actually require a certain approach, but are easier to complete if you apply a little strategy. The first bunker level, for example, is fully beatable on the easier difficulty Agent, even if the alarms are set off. Yet, it becomes harder to beat when you have to deal with the tougher guards that come after you. Makes sense. But you can play it how you want. What gamers will remember most fondly about Goldeneye, however, was its absolutely insane multiplayer mode, which was revolutionary in its own right. Up to 4-player chaos on unique maps, sets of weapons to use, and tons of characters and skins to choose from, including every character from the single player, as well as famous characters from other Bond films, such as Jaws and Oddjob. And of course, everyone played as fucking Oddjob back in the day, being so much smaller and harder to hit than everyone else. Fucking damn it, I'm getting some vivid, angry flashbacks here. In fact, I'm reading something here. I just read it. This is off script now. I've just read it. This says, developer confirms Oddjob is cheating. He was so short that you couldn't auto-aim. Even if auto-aim was on, he was impossible to auto-aim onto. Oddjob is cheating, you bastards. There were also a variety of modes and ways to play, including one-shot kill, limited lives, and a choice of timed or point-based matches. You could also activate some cheats for the multiplayer too, adding even more hilarity to your gunfights. Damn, look at all this, man. So many ways to shoot your friends without going to prison. This was the definition of being spoiled for choice back then. Everyone was talking about this game at its initial release, and word of mouth turned this game into an absolutely legendary shooter. But you don't often hear people talk about its successor, Perfect Dark, a game which I can honestly say is superior to Goldeneye, yet fell under a lot of gamers' radars, as for many, it failed to live up to the legendary status of its predecessor. In actuality, Perfect Dark is a perfected version of the formula. All of the characters, including the guards, are fully voice acted, both in-game and in cinematics.
Who are you and what are you doing here? Look out! She's got a gun!
Yeah, that's right, run, bitch! The calls and cries of death from the guards were also hysterical and fully voice acted, and definitely one of the most memorable parts of the game for me.
No! Oh god, he's dead!
Guard AI was also improved, with guards occasionally jamming their own guns, giving you the advantage. If you shoot their guns, they fly across the room, and the guard would awkwardly run over and pick it up. There was more blood effects from shooting enemies, more detail in the reloading of weapons, I especially like this one. God damn, that's still fucking cool. And more objectives to complete against a unique story, featuring Rare's own protagonist Joanna Dark and her uncovering of a twisted alien conspiracy. I'm also pretty sure that this was the first shooter to feature weapons with alternate ways to fire them, and the inclusion of bots in its multiplayer. So if you didn't have any friends to play with, you could still kick back and enjoy some crazy gun battles. The game even had a challenge mode that pitted you against tough bots in pre-selected scenarios and settings. Just another thing that this amazing game had going for it. And there's a reason I'm mentioning all of this, so keep this all in mind as we move on to the next review. Honestly, if you're one of the Goldeneye fans that somehow dodged this one, you definitely missed out. But the game did require the infamous expansion pack, which may or may not have influenced people back then. Dunno, can't remember. So Rare's genius shooters for the N64 certainly didn't get unnoticed by gamers and critics, with Goldeneye in particular becoming a mainstay of the genre. But David Doak and Steve Ellis were about to change the... Okay. Timesplitters. Timesplitters. 2 words, or 1 word I suppose, that for a select group of gamers will conjure glorious memories of shooting zombies, mutants and gingerbread men. Yeah. The Timesplitters games are developed by Free Radical, a company founded by Goldeneye designers David Doak, Steve Ellis, and what remained of the team after breaking away from Rare, which was controversially bought out by Microsoft. I'll say no more about Microsoft's Rare, because that's a whole Pandora's box of bullshit that I'll gladly sidestep for now. Maybe in another video. Maybe. All 3 Timesplitters games in the series are incredibly fast-paced first-person shooters that once again continued to redefine the genre and quickly picked up attention as being the successor series to GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Timesplitters 1 was a release title for the PS2 and was the very first game I played on the system, along with Fantavision. Not really a fucking competition, was it? While Timesplitters was the fastest and most insane shooter experience at the time, it wasn't until the release of Timesplitters 2 that I began to realise how much genius had really gone into making these games. But let's go back a sec, let's take a bit more of a look at the first game. It's the turn of the century, the year 2000. Anne Robinson is being cruel to contestants on The Weakest Link. Destiny's Child reached the top of the charts by sacrificing a virgin to Beelzebub, and Raptor Jesus has arisen to punish our sins with the first airing of Big Brother. Jesus Christ! Building on what GoldenEye and Perfect Dark had laid down only a couple of years prior, Timesplitters had an even larger selection of bonkers character skins, insane, surreal weapons, and gameplay so fast that it felt downright illegal. It was a lot more straightforward with its single player, however, with each mission a matter of simply finding an object in the level and returning to the start. While simple, this clearly shows that the team's focus was less on story and more on creating thrilling and intense gameplay that also had fun and addictive multiplayer. The game used this newfangled PlayStation controller with big black breasts that seemed so alien back then. I'm also fairly certain that this game set the standard of controls in the genre, with the left stick used to move on one axis and the right stick used to look and tilt on the other axis. This may sound commonplace now, and this may not be the first time it was actually done, but for my kid brain, this was a game changer. This was how you played a first-person shooter. Fast forward a mere 2 years, and Free Radical takes everything about the original game, builds on it, and releases Timesplitters 2 to immense fanfare and critical acclaim. I lost my frickin' mind as a kid, and it still shows. This was eventually followed by Timesplitters Future Perfect, the 3rd game in the series, and a game which, quite honestly, as the title suggests, perfected the formula even further. But for this review, I've decided to focus on the 2nd game, as I still consider it to be the most important game for the series, being released cross-platform, and was definitely the most influential for me personally. Before we get into the game, let me just comment first on this soundtrack. Graham Norgate does it again, and from the moment you load the game to the main menu, you're treated to what is, in my opinion, some of the best video game music in existence. Damn, this music's awesome! Almost makes me forget I'm being held at gunpoint. Why am I wincing so much right now? Every level is set in a different time period, so each level has some glorious composition that suit those time periods perfectly. While seemingly carrying through a single theme, which by this point is something we've come to expect from the ex-employees of Rare. fantastic. So one of the most notable changes in this sequel was that it featured the objective-based missions that made the N64 outings so definitive in the first place. The game's plot revolves around Sergeant Cortez and Corporal Hart pursuing the time crystals held by the Timesplitters, an evil race of aliens at war with humanity that use a time portal to travel to various times and places in history. This was great, finally we were given context to what the Timesplitters were. In the first game, you really had no idea. While the story is still pretty simple, it offers a brilliant way to frame the levels and link them together narratively, just to keep you that little bit more invested in completing the campaign. Besides, you do this cool quantum leap thing, where your character integrates into the timeline, turning into another character from the time period, with the implication being that you're not just there for the time crystal, but to fix a part of human history that the Timesplitters have twisted. But like I said, this is only implied and not stated outright, and therefore not particularly important to the story. And it also gets a bit confusing if you think about this for too long, as nearly all the cinematics at the start of the levels completely contradict this notion, at least most of them do, and so don't really make a huge amount of sense. But yeah, just don't think about that and enjoy shooting shit, otherwise you'll be about as confused as Cortez here. There are less levels overall than the groundbreakers on N64 though, with only 10 levels. However, these levels were larger, longer, whoo, down boy, and also retained the 3 difficulties per level aspect. Again, like Goldeneye, there are more objectives on some of the levels at higher difficulties that can change the dynamic of the levels as well as making enemies tougher. And similarly, you can attack the level how you want. You could stealth your way through a lot of these levels, as Free Radical gives you all the tools you need to do so, or you could Rambo style all guns blazing, albeit making it a lot more challenging for yourself. A lot of the objectives, again like Goldeneye, are like puzzles that you have to solve, and it feels so damn satisfying to figure them out. Contrary to Goldeneye, however, sometimes objectives will appear as the level unfolds, which often forces you to figure out how to complete them on the fly. The graphics are solid in my opinion, and I honestly believe they hold up today. For the PlayStation 2 era, they were top notch, and the cinematics and in-game animations were also fantastic. The most notable differences from the first game are the smoother models and more cartoonish designs, which were honestly greatly welcomed. Everything's that bit clearer, so you can shoot more shit and get shot. Shit! The gameplay feels a hair slowed down from the first game, but it's definitely worth the added features and crisper graphics. And the game is still as fast as a cheetah on steroids, or my brain on crack. Speaking of features, this game has so much to offer in both single and multiplayer content, it truly boggles the mind, and the game really set a standard on how much replay value a shooter could have. Playing alone, you had 3 difficulties for every level in the campaign, again with some extra objectives and level sections, and these hard difficulties were, again, incredibly difficult, but incredibly rewarding to beat. Like here for example, this is me trying to beat the first level on hard difficulty just so I can sort of show off some of the gameplay and some of the extra sections of the level, and I can't even fucking do it. It's fucking ridiculously hard. Shit, this is the first level, guys. This is the first level on hard, and it's fucking hard. Oh my god. And if that wasn't challenging enough for you, there's also a challenge mode, with bronze, silver, gold, and platinum trophies to earn on each. Some of these challenges were really unique and fun, such as breaking all the windows in this area of the story mission with just bricks, or shooting a bunch of watermelons that are being held by monkeys. Yeah, okay, that may not sound fun or challenging, but trust me, it is. Some of these are incredibly difficult. As well as challenge mode, there's also an arcade mode, which uses preset custom rule sets to challenge you further. Similar to the challenge mode, you were awarded with a medal for each that's based on how efficiently you slaughtered everything. Although that's not entirely true, as the multiplayer customization also includes many other game modes other than deathmatch, such as Virus, which is essentially a big game of tag that ends when everybody is caught, except if you have been caught, you're running around screaming on fire. Then there's Vampire mode, which has you accumulating kills on your opponents to actually stay in the game. Lose all your lives from lack of kills, and you're out of the game. So some really cool and unique game modes here. You gain access to all of these modes in custom multiplayer as you unlock them in the arcade mode, so you can experiment with tons of different combinations of weapons, game modes, special rules, there's cheats as well of course, and characters. Good God, the characters. You know how I implied earlier that there were a lot of characters in the first game? Well, this game practically doubles that number with even more character models and skins to unlock. Some of which, like I said, are incredibly wacky and absolutely hilarious. Some of my personal favourites are Duckman Drake, Monkey, Gingerbread Man, of course, classic, Insect Mutant. God, that design is just Fucking nuts, I fucking love it. Snowman. Look, he floats on a little magic carpet. It's fucking brilliant. I can show you the wood. And Handyman. Literally a human forearm with limbs made of matchsticks and a face drawn on it. What in the holy mother of fuck were they smoking, and can I please have some? Anyway, as I was saying, if all these challenges, characters and game modes weren't enough for you and your friends to have a blast with, all 3 games in the Timesplitters series feature a map maker mode, which might be just the most ingenious motherfucking thing that I've ever seen to this day. I mean, sweet shit on a shingle was this stuff innovative. Although the first game's map maker was limited, it was, I'm pretty sure, the first of its kind. We had never seen an FPS map maker before this, and the sequels only improved your creative options. Timesplitters 2 allowed not only more ways to build and structure, but you could also place objectives, spawns, various triggers. I just can't tell you how ahead of its time this was. Ironic it's called Timesplitters because this game is just so far ahead of its time. It's insane. This map and story maker was brought back in Future Perfect, and I remember distinctly making a course for 2 to 4 players where you had to race remote control cats around a checkpoint-based track. It was hilarious. I created a game within a game, and this blew my mind growing up. Unfortunately, all of this was just before online play became more accessible and I jumped on the web. Otherwise, I would have been able to share my levels and play other people's, which I'm kind of glad didn't happen the more I think about it. Otherwise, I might never have left the house again. I would have been a recluse, a filthy little goblin wanking into socks and shitting in buckets. Most excitingly, at the time of writing this review, Doka's posted to Twitter revealing what looks to be confirmation of the rumoured reformation of Free Radical Design, with their sights seemingly set on remaking the original trilogy, or perhaps even developing the long-fabled sequel, Timesplitters 4. If anything deserves a revival, if any game series deserves a revival, it's this one. I'm so looking forward to that. It would be absolutely amazing to see this series make a comeback, but only time will tell. So there we go. Those are my most favourite first-person shooter games of all time. Both of these games get a retrograde of A for absolutely amazing. So yeah, apart from being held at gunpoint by a demonic object, this has actually been quite a...
Don't say it, douche.
Fun episode for a change? Oh. I forgot. I got an Oculus for Christmas. Man, that was so realistic. Seems a bit lazy though. A bit contrived, but thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Retronomicon. My name is Matt, and until next time... What's the word? Like? No. Comment? Although, yeah, you can do that down below, but that's not what the word I'm looking for. It's, oh god, the music's already started fading in. Oh god, what is the word? Sign up for... Oh, that's it! It's subscribe!